Hi, Gil Crosby here again, and this is another segment on Lewinian social science as we continue to explore diversity without dogma. How do we better address prejudice and create a more equitable society? So that's the overall goal, in case you've forgotten by this time. And I hope you're getting it that all of Lewin's social science is connected. So I'm giving it to you in pieces, but each piece is connected. So we covered group dynamics last time. This session is on methods of education. And guess what? The group is the way to influence individual beliefs and values. In Lewin's research, what he found is that if you're sitting in a passive lecture style learning environment where the only person you have to confer with is yourself in your head, then you're unlikely to shift your basic beliefs. If you are like what Lewin did with the farmers in the Midwest and other groups, if you have the opportunity to think out loud, to talk about what you really believe, to compare it with the information you're being provided while you interact with peers, then the odds of being influenced go way up. If the group changes, then the odds of individual change increase. So what Lewin always was creating in educational situations was opportunities for dialogue amongst the group members. The goal also was to create what he called we feeling between whoever was doing the teaching and the group members. So entering with humility, inviting people from all perspectives in, and inviting people to think for themselves. And part of that is having privacy with peers so that they aren't being policed about what they say and they aren't experiencing the educational process like a policing or like a kindergarten class where they're being told what to feel and what to do and what to think. So instead, connecting and exploring with them. And so that runs counter to much of the DEI training that exists today. Certainly, New York Times best-selling author Robin DiAngelo and her workshops go in a completely different direction, a confrontation direction and a focus on people looking inside themselves, especially white people, and exploring their biases with the belief that, and she writes it right in her book, I'm quoting this from her book, white people are racist. It's not an option not to be. And so it's a very confrontational approach, and people are likely, when they're confronted, even if there's some truth to it, but also even if there's no truth to it, they're likely to feel defensive. And DiAngelo writes that that white people get defensive because they're racist. It's further proof of their racism, versus considering that it's the educational approach which is eliciting defensiveness. So if you confront, people are likely to feel defensive. And if you tell them that their defensiveness is proof of what you were saying, they're likely to feel even more defensive. And if the entire educational process has that tone, then the odds are people will hold on to their beliefs and their values. Whatever they walked in with, they'll probably walk out with. This is what Lewin's research showed. Not only will they walk out with it, but they'll probably feel resentful and more likely to be antagonistic out in the world. So it is quite likely, at least again according to Lewin, to have a counter effect if one approaches it that way. So that's why Lewinian approach to education is so important, which, by the way, it dovetails with Dewey's research, and many of Lewin's followers came from direct contact with Dewey, where they were paying attention to letting people learn from their own experiences. So experiential education as a method of developing people more deeply, so that they can be more active and productive members of society and of democracy. According to Dewey and Lewin, we learn from how we are taught. And so the content, of course, matters, but even more important is whether we are being told that the teacher knows the truth and our job is simply to memorize the teacher's answers. And anytime somebody says they know the truth, that's what I mean by dogma. That's the diversity without dogma approach, is to instead join people in thinking through, using science, thinking through these issues so that they can come up with their own truth, because they're going to, regardless of what you want, people are going to think for themselves. So the question is, are you actually influencing that, or are you simply pushing them in the opposite direction? So that's why we need DEI education and action based on collaboration and real inclusion and kindness. This is a touchy subject. We need to be kind to each other. Of course it's easy to feel defensive. And of course it's easy to bond with your own group against other groups. And if the DEI approach increases that, then it's counterproductive. We need to work collaboratively to build a coalition towards equity, towards ending prejudice, and strengthening democracy. And all of those things are linked by Lewinian social science. That's why I have so much faith in it. Lewin had faith that social science was the path towards a better society. And that's why I want you all to be social scientists as you work on social issues like prejudice, and also on influencing at work. Take care. I look forward to talking to you in the next segment.